you're hungry. The operating system that helped you build success is not the one that will actually help you experience fulfillment, that will help you lead from a place of peace, lead from a place of beauty, lead from a place of true joy. What if the second half of your life, the second half of this game, you could feel and play such a stronger game? Not the game where you're just pushing yourself and beating your body into oblivion, but where you're actually playing from a rested state, where you're strong, you have vitality, you have energy, and you can go out and you can adventure. Hello, welcome back to the show. It's Christine Jewell, and today we're coming back after having a week off. I was in Greece the last 2 weeks. It was amazing, almost 3 weeks. And today I'm going to talk about the halftime, like making the second half of our lives so much more fulfilling, so much more rich, so much more meaningful and deep than the first half. So obviously today's show is inspired by my time away. I took a break to celebrate my 50th birthday. We headed to Greece. We had about 2.5 weeks there, and 2 weeks we spent on a sailboat that we had chartered sailing the Greek islands. And I'm going to tell you guys, it was awesome. If you haven't been to Greece, I highly, highly recommend it. If you haven't sailed in Greece, definitely put it on your bucket list. But, this was a trip that we had planned for a long time, probably 18 months, actually. I had this on my bucket list for a long time. Mark and I had planned to bareboat charter. We ended up going to the boat show about 18 months ago, fell in love with the catamarans. I had already bareboat chartered in the past. And so we decided we're going to do this together. We're going to get our bareboat license so that we can charter this boat. We can adventure together. We can head out, take the family, celebrate all the things. And so it was something that really I had been planning for a long time, looking forward to it. And here's the thing, as with our plans, we make our plans, but the Lord establishes our steps. And so 24 hours, not even like 24, 48 hours before I was supposed to leave, we knew there was a chance that Mark wouldn't be able to join us. We were trying to make it work. It did not come together. And so at the final hour, Mark was not able to come on the trip along with 2 of our other kids. So he stayed back, and we had to make the decisions like, do I go? Do I still go ahead and take this 45-foot sailboat by myself with the older kids and head out on an epic adventure? Or do we just cancel, reschedule for next year? What do we do with this? And it was tough because I really wanted to celebrate this time with Mark. I wanted to have this experience with Mark and with all of our kids. But you guys know that song, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. All right. I may not sing well, but that's the deal. We don't always get what we want, but we get exactly what we need. And that is what happened this time. I decided to hire a skipper because this was going to be my first bareboat charter. So I was not about to go, take on the Mediterranean mooring on my own. If you have seen videos of that or you have done it, you know that it's insane. Imagine driving a car in Italy while sail a boat in Greece in those little ports where they're just like having you back up and do 360s. And it's quite the thing to experience, let alone do on your own. So I hired a skipper to come with us. He knew all the sweetest spots. He had the ins and outs, the restaurant owners, this boat slips, the secret spots to go swimming. And here's the deal. I'm starting by sharing this story with you because it was not what I planned. It was not what I expected. It was not what was on my agenda, but it was 100% every single thing that my heart, my soul, my body, my nervous system really, really deeply needed. And this is what I love about God. So we can plan and we can pray and we can say, I could see this vision of it. He knows exactly what you need. What ended up happening was for those 2 weeks, I just dropped in. I was in with our older kids. We had our 20-year-old, 22-year-old, and my 18-year-old, and just me. And so I spent 2 weeks. I didn't work out. I didn't journal. I didn't get up and do my normal morning routine of reading the Word of God and praying and worship music, although I love and treasure all of those things. You see, they're just part of my daily life. They're part of my daily routine. And what I just felt like my soul, my spirit, my body really needed was total rest. Like I'm talking about not just a vacation. I'm not talking about a break from the norm. I'm talking about stepping back, no agenda, no plan, nothing to produce, nothing to work for, nothing to try to figure out, solve for, strategize, really stepping back and letting myself just receive. And, this isn't where how I was planning on starting the show, but this is how it works. We always go into this. I think so many times we have these plans that we're going to get away, but we fill our time, we pre-fill our time with all the things that we've always done, and we think, oh, I'm going to have this extra time to work on this, or I'm going to have this extra time to think about that. And I am a big advocate and spokesperson for creating strategic thinking time, visioneering time, life architecting time, all of that, writing time, creating. But that's not what this was. And this last season that I've been going through, maybe it's because I was coming up to my 50th, but it's been a season of transition for about 6 months. I felt that I was on the threshold. I knew it. I've known it for some time. I could feel things shifting. I am a seasoned transition coach. This is what I do. I help people who are in seasons of transition. And I could just feel I'm in my own transition right now. I'm in my own threshold moment. And what I need right now is deep rest. There was many, many years of my life where I'd go through transitions. I'd be shifting careers, shifting, business models, shifting locations where we were living, shifting the environment, family, big, massive family changes. And I would just try to press through, and I would press through. But you guys, what you force eventually breaks. And I'm so done creating from pressure and pushing through. And I've learned the hard way through many years and many times of being through this, that the way through a threshold season, the way to the other side is deep trust, deep surrender, and just letting go, being still, and knowing that God is ultimately in control. And the word to be still literally means in Hebrew to surrender, to let go or put down. So this was a time where I just put down all of my normal routine, my familiar habits, all of the things that I depended on, to get me connected with God, to get my head clear. I didn't do any of those things. I slept in. I slept in. I had my morning espresso, either over the water, by the sea, with my croissant. I'm eating carbs over there, y'all. But it was just a slow pace down. And here's the beautiful thing. The Wi-Fi wasn't working on our boat. So we had paid to get Wi-Fi. Oh my gosh, imagine the kids, no Wi-Fi. And so what happens is you have literally a blank slate. I sat with the sea. I sat with the breeze. I soaked in the sunshine. I swam in this mineral rich water. I talked to the locals. I had long, slow coffees. I literally did nothing, zero, and yet I received everything. And I think this is such a beautiful tipping point for a different way of creating and producing. And I'm not talking about stopping production as we move on. I'm talking about creating from a different state. I'm talking about building from a different fuel. I'm talking about different desires, different measures of success. And as I sat there and I just received, I tried to write sometimes. I tried to capture my thoughts, but my spirit, my soul was like, no, I don't feel like writing. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be here. And, it took me about 10 days to fall into the place where I truly was in that place of deep rest, deep recalibration, deep recalibration of my nervous system, of my heart, my body. And that cortisol was just dropping, dropping, dropping. And, at about day 12, I started just, it was like the downloads were coming, the downloads were coming. I was having fresh desires come up, dreams, things that I'm really excited to put out, things that I'm excited to create, upgraded business models, like upgraded ways that I'm going to be serving my clients, more experiences, more rich experiences for our family, for, our clients, the people that we work with, and just a richer life overall. And so I just received so much wisdom, so much revelation, so many downloads, not because I was looking for them, not because I, was asking for them, because I said, God, I'm just here to receive whatever you want me to soak in, whatever you want to give me. And if it's just the stillness of this moment, the beauty of this moment, I'm down for it, And I just was able to experience a different level of richness, of depth, of beauty, of rest than honestly I have in a long time, probably years. And what came out of that is truly, um, a couple things. First of all, that I'm so ready. I'm so ready to say yes after 2 weeks of total rest and recalibration that produced clarity and conviction that I haven't had in months. I'm finally ready to fully say yes to a life and a business and a lifestyle that I love, one that serves others powerfully, that honors God fully, that transforms lives, and quite honestly is deeply fulfilling for me. Now, I want to say that I've had years of creating and building spaciousness into my schedule. I decided years ago I refuse to operate from pressure. I refuse to be in a pressure cooker all the time. I don't want to be scheduled back to back. I started doing this about 5 to 7 years ago, restructuring the way that I worked, with clients, the way that our business was structured, the systems, like to simplify my life, to create more spaciousness. But I'm telling you that there's always more layers, right? So I just came back and I'm just like, I realized that the first half of our life, the first half, it's just like a game, it's like it's halftime. The first half of our life, we're asking different questions. We're pursuing success. We're pursuing growth. We're pursuing, establishing something that feels meaningful and will stand the test of time. And so the first half, a lot of times we're asking, how do I win the game? How do I win the game of life? How do I win the game of business? How do I win in this relationship? How do I build, something substantial, something impactful, something meaning? How do I build? How do I provide for my family? How to provide for the lifestyle I want? How do I prove myself? Right? I spent a lot of time in the first half of my life trying to prove myself, mostly to myself, if I'm honest, that I was worthy, that I was capable, that I had what it took. I was trying to prove people wrong in my past, that I'd spoken things into my life that said, you'll never amount to anything. You'll never be this successful. You'll never be able to experience this. You'll never break free from this way of living, or, this dysfunctional relationship cycles. And so the first half, for me anyways, was so much about building and providing and establishing, improving and growing. And, it was in many ways a relentless pursuit of the illusion of creating security in our life, creating stability in our families, like creating all these things. But I know that we get to this point. I've gotten there. This is not just me coming back from my 50th birthday trip in Greece. This is something that has been going on for probably the last decade, 40s, my 40s, is that the questions have begun shifting. The desires have shifted. Uh, and you realize that the operating system that got you to where you are today, that has built the success, that's built the businesses, that got, all of the stuff that you have, the houses, the boats, the vacations, the investment accounts, like a lot of the things, the halfway point of 2026. And I jumped on and I said, y'all, it's halftime. Right now, today, we are halfway through 2026. Can you believe it? We're already halfway done. And I invited everyone on that class to consider them, that session that I did with them, like a halftime in the locker room. Come into the locker room with the coach and let's revisit. Let's revisit the plays. Let's revisit the game that we were playing the first half. What was the game about? Where was our head? Where was our heart at in the game? What plays were we running? Did we like the way that we showed up to play? Were we playing the right game, for ultimately what we want? Were we operating and playing from fear? Were we scrapping? Like, what was going on? Let's break it down so that we can get back out on the field and decide to play a better game the second half. We might need to play a completely different game than we played the first half. Or maybe the first half, it was pretty good. We were pretty solid, but there are some things that we need to adjust. There's some things we need to stop doing and some plays we need to start running. We need to move some people around. We need to really reevaluate some of the moves that we're going to take. And so I wanted to do this podcast today really as an interruption to your daily program, an interruption to the flow of everything that you've been doing, everything that got you here, the operating system that's helped you build the first half, whatever that is for you. Maybe you're a decade in, maybe you're 2 decades in, but I want you to do a timeout right now and say, hold on a second. Let me break it down for a minute. Let me do a little review of, am I truly happy? Am I truly experiencing peace? Let me correct myself. I don't think it's about happiness. I think it's about peace. I think it's about joy. I think it's about being able to rest and not live your life chronically stressed, chronically anxious, chronically feeling behind, chronically feeling like you're missing out on something. I believe that this is an invitation right now at halftime, this midpoint, to say, wait a second, is peace something I'm pursuing or something that I have that I live from? Is freedom something I'm still working towards, or do I already recognize that I'm a free woman? I'm a free man. I'm already created and given the gift of freedom, but I have to know how to operate as a free individual, not one who's enslaved to my business, to other people's opinions, to external validation, to profit margins, whatever it is, right? Not chained to my desk, chained to a life that I built that is a low margin existence versus a high margin life. By the way, that's going to be our next podcast episode. But the second half, now we come back and we say, wow, we start asking different questions. And for me, the questions I've been asking myself that over the last year or two, couple years, is how do I live from more peace, right? Not how do I just go get more peace. It's how do I live from greater peace? How do I lead from greater peace? How does peace become more of my decision making filter? I want peace to be the standard. Joy, is joy my natural state, or is frustration still my natural state? Am I still living in the gap, or am I enjoying the fruit of the work that I've done? Am I enjoying the moments with my family? Am I able, do I even have the capacity and the ability to enjoy myself, or am I fidgeting and uncomfortable and am in the places I worked so hard to get to and I can't relax? I did a podcast episode about this actually before I left, because I realized I was on that cusp myself. I was falling back into that trap. So the question is like, how do I lead and live from greater peace? How do I live and lead from greater joy, greater fulfillment? Fulfillment meaning I feel full when I do the work that I do. I'm not exhausted and emptied and hitting the end of the day with nothing left in the tank. Like, the work I do is actually life-giving. The people I work with are life-giving. It is meaningful. It's rich. It has impact not only in their life, but also in my life. Hey, I want to let you know about a live masterclass I'm hosting soon called Reclaiming the Territory of Your Marriage. I'm going to be sharing the 3 keys to help you rebuild connection with your spouse, restore trust, and lead with greater certainty at home. So click on the link, get registered. This is an exclusive event for a limited time. It is powerful and you do not want to miss it. You're going to walk away with actionable steps and clear strategies that you can apply this week. Click on the link, get registered, and I'll see you on the other side. I think about it as I work with clients and I do deep, intimate work, and I'm going to have an announcement about the way I'm shifting the structure of how I work with clients. But it is already so deep, so rich, so meaningful that I am so energized by the work. I am so fulfilled, and I grow in the process of working, mentoring, advising my own clients. It stretches me, it excites me, it activates me as it activates and stretches and transforms them. And so these are the questions, is like, how do I generate and operate from greater spaciousness? Spaciousness for me is the ability to have more space, mental space, not that you're so full of noise and activity and to-do lists and pings and dings and text. And there's actual mental bandwidth, spaciousness, thinking time, zero time, the zero. I call it like the blank canvas, that you're looking at the blank canvas for a while. And it's like, I just need to step away from it and just light up some different centers of my brain so that I can come back to the canvas and not just paint the same old thing that I've been painting, not play the same game that I've always been playing, but I have fresh idea. I have new insight. You need spaciousness to have innovation. You need spaciousness to have creativity. You need spaciousness, right, to express yourself fully. Otherwise, you're going to rehash what you've always done, who you've always been, or who you always think you should have been. And this is the trap. So we're always evolving. We're called to be growing. And when we're not growing, and what I mean by that is not growing financially, not growing on a P&L, not growing by establishing more things, but growing deeper roots within ourselves, knowing ourselves better, having deeper, richer relationships, growing in our faith, growing in our vitality, growing in just, you know, knowing God. Like there's a depth and a growth that happened that is down and deeper within as it bears more fruit versus it's something big and growing that has shallow roots. The questions today are, what does God have for me in this season? Lord, what is the season you're inviting me into? What is the purpose of this season? What's the assignment in this season? And quite honestly, for me, it's how do I, one of the big things for the second half and is that recognizing you're not here to build a business or a portfolio or whatever it is so that you can get to a life of peace, so that you can get to a life that you enjoy, so that you can get to a place where you can finally rest. You know, so many of us have been building this way. We've been thinking, okay, what business can I build? What product can I sell? What investments can I make so that I can, finally relax, finally have beauty, finally have connection, finally have the time. And I'm quite honestly at the season and place of my life where, and I have been doing this for a while, whereas let me get even more clear, even more aligned, give myself even more permission for the life, the lifestyle that I want to have, the life that I want to experience every single day. So what am I saying yes to? And let me reverse engineer and reverse architect and build the systems and the structure, the businesses, the products, the pathways to support the life that I'm already saying yes to today. Obviously, y'all, I did come back from Greece. I spent the last 2 summers in Italy. I grew up in Italy. I am Italian by nature. So it's in my blood, the Mediterranean lifestyle, the Mediterranean way of living, that, la dolce vita, la dolce far niente. These things are in my blood. And so you have things that are in your blood that are just, it's who you are. It's like, it's in your DNA and it's life giving for you. And for me, it was coming back to saying yes to a slower pace of life, yes to slow mornings, yes to richer, more fulfilling conversations with family, with friends, harvest table, dinner tables. I mean, we've been doing family dinners for years. It's one of the most intimate, connected times for our family where we'll sit for hours and just talk and sometimes talk about nothing, sometimes talk about deep things, but we'll sit at the table for like an hour after we're done eating. And this is not just once a week, it's multiple times a week. And actually, I remember once having some mentors who were like, wow, you guys are wasting a lot of time on these family dinners. Like, that's a lot of wasted time. And it was shocking to me because I was like, wow, that is the like richest part of our day, next to the time that we're spending with the Lord. It's such a fulfilling part of our life. It has been such a foundational piece and glue for our family. How could that be a waste? Well, to someone else, it might be. But to me, I'm saying yes. Yes to that. I'm saying yes to more beauty. One of the things I loved about Greece that it reminded me of, and it reminds me of this every time I go back home to Italy, is just the simplicity of laughter, of celebration, not waiting for a huge milestone, somebody's graduating or we hit a certain business goal or we sold a business. We're not waiting for the big things to celebrate, but we're living life as a celebration. I saw people dancing. I saw people singing outside their shops, just picking up instruments. I saw laughter. I saw joy. I saw children laughing and elders laughing. I saw people singing that shouldn't be singing, but there's beauty in all of it. And I saw people playing incredible music on the streets. And it just was just such an infusion back into me to say, wow, how do we get so serious? How do we get so to the point where we don't want to be seen dancing? We don't want to be seen, laughing and singing. We can't be silly. Like, we have become a society that is so weighed down and burdened by all these external things that quite honestly don't feed us, don't nourish us, don't fulfill us, but we think that we need them in order to actually be able to laugh, to sing, to play, to relax. And that is the lie. That's the illusion. So I'm saying yes to slow mornings. I'm saying yes to more, great food. I love good food. I've always been foodie. You know, I've come from a nutrition background. I come from an Italian background, so we love to cook food. But I'm saying yes to making homemade pasta, you know, spending more time as a family, cooking together, exploring meals, having Mediterranean, you know, dinner clubs at the house, like things that are actually exciting to me. You know, exploring great wines, exploring great food, fellowshipping together, having worship nights at the house. And I'm saying yes to slowing down so that I can create from a place of overflow even more for you guys, whether I'm recording podcasts, whether I'm writing the next book, whether I'm preparing content. I'm saying yes to, like, I'm not going to produce something out of obligation or just because I have to or out of pressure. I'm going to produce something that is rich, that has substance to it, that is actually meat that people can eat. I think there's just so much noise right now in the marketplace. There's so much noise on social media. People are just pumping out content. And to be honest, I've been there too. The pressure to always be on, the pressure to always have to have something out to be top of mind, it's real. But all we're doing is pumping noise into the atmosphere. And I'm saying, no more of that. You know, like, I want what I put out to actually feed you, to nourish you, to ignite something in you, to inspire you, to mobilize you to do something different, not just inspire you, but to catalyze you to take different action. So I am saying yes to really developing my business into a boutique advisory firm. One of the things I finally gave myself full permission for is that I do not want to scale. I actually don't love to scale. I have products, I have books that many people can buy. We have this podcast that scales and helps many, many people. We have our Rapid Implementation Challenge, which is a 4-month amazing training, coaching container that you can follow along. You can do it at your own pace. It gives you all the playbooks to build a great marriage, to lead at home with greater confidence. Those are ways that I can serve a lot of people, and I think do it at a very high level. And those are ways that I can spread my wings and help a lot of people. But I am going to be going all in on working with an intimate container of people that want to really work deeply, richly, see themselves as an asset, and want to make the second half of their life more fulfilling, more rich than the first half. And this is where, you know, we're talking about the marriage 2.0. You know, the marriage that you had in the first half is not going to be the marriage you have in the second half. So whether you're on, literally have gone through a divorce and you are saying, I want to rebuild the second time around, I know what not to do. I want to make sure that this marriage, you know, withstands the test of time, is deeply connected, is unified, there's harmony, there's peace. And some of you are not divorced. You're not working on a second marriage, but you are working on a second marriage with the same person, because you're not the same people that you were when you first got married. You have grown. You want different things. You're asking yourself different questions. I hope you're asking yourself different questions. And so whether it's your first marriage that you are, you know, going through a season of just redefining, restructuring, rebuilding, reestablishing, and birthing the version 2.0 of that, or you're actually building a new second marriage, you know, I believe that the second half is about not only restoring the things that were lost, that we gave away, you know, in the first half. Some of us sacrificed a lot of ourselves. We abandoned many parts of ourselves, actually. If we're honest, in the second half, we abandoned ourselves at the altar of success. We abandoned ourselves trying to be everything for everyone. We abandoned ourselves trying to be the provider for everyone and make sure everybody else was okay. And in the pursuit of that, there's parts of yourself that got left behind, that got lost. And so I believe that now is a time to reclaim the territory of your marriage, restore a great relationship with yourself, get to know yourself again, feel amazing in your body. What if the second half of your life, the second half of this game, you could feel and play such a stronger game, you know, not the game where you're just pushing yourself and beating your body into oblivion, but where you're actually playing from a rested state, where you're strong, you have vitality, you have energy, and you can go out and you can adventure. You know, I'm fully committed to being on the ski slopes well into my 90s. And so I think that right now, this second half is, how do I create an unforgettable second half? Not one that I live and I just can't remember what I did the last hour or the last week, because I'm so overwhelmed and consumed by so much noise, activity, doing, that I've lost all memory of the life that I'm living. So everything is up leveling, is what I'm saying. Everything is up leveling. Personally, for me, I am up leveling and architecting my life, the life that I'm saying yes to. I'm excited about rolling out some new projects that have nothing to do with coaching and everything to do with beauty and a Mediterranean lifestyle, a Mediterranean living, great food, great music, great gatherings, great people. I'm going to be saying yes to architecting the boutique advisory business that I've always had on my heart to do, but I've been in the tension of do we scale the corporate training and coaching company, or do I go deep, really deep and wide with a select few? And so I'm saying I'm going to go deep and wide. I'm going to curate an amazing experience for a handful of clients. And I'm saying yes to curating transformational, life changing experiences and trips to the Mediterranean with my clients. So you guys can look forward to some of those things. I'm going to be talking about sailing masterminds, Tuscan couples adventures, so many other things. I'm really excited about this because it feels like I'm finally bringing the best of all the things that light me up together. And one of the things that brings me more joy than anything else is taking people to new places, exposing them to new environments, taking them from one reality to the next, which is exactly what I've done through my years of coaching, quantum leaps, breakthroughs, teaching people to move away from the world system of, just like being a slave to the grind to really stepping into the kingdom way of living. It's all about living fully, experiencing the richness of life that you have. So everything's up leveling, lifestyle, business is up leveling, family, the relationships with our kids are evolving. And I'm excited about the second half. I feel like I had a great halftime review. And I want to invite you today, as you're listening to this and we start to close, that, as you come into the second half, have you been asking yourself, like, who am I becoming? How well do I know myself? How rich is my life? Not just measured by dollars and cents, but measured by wealth that is like the things that matter at the end of the day, the wealth of my relationships, the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of wisdom I've gained, the wealth of experiences, the wealth of intimacy and connection I have with God, the cultures I've experienced, like what matters now for you, for your family. And quite honestly, what needs to end? Like that was for the first half. It has outrun its course. You can't take it into the second half. Otherwise, it's going to be like baggage weighing you down. This new half is going to require new plays, y'all. Okay. And we're asking, what would make the next 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, I don't know what it is for you, fully, deeply alive? I think that's the conversation I'm more excited to have. That's the conversation I am going to be having inside of my coaching containers, small group, private advisory, and our live events. And that's the invitation I'm asking you to. So as I wrap today, the invitation is this: it is halftime. Imagine it's halftime. For some of you, it literally is halftime. It literally is halftime. You have been building, building, building for so many years. I'm going to just talk about this for a second. You have been building, building, building for so many years. You have more success. You have more success than most people dream about. From the outside, your life might look amazing, amazing. But I know you've been asking yourself different questions. I know you've been searching for something deeper, richer, more meaningful. And I know you're hungry. I know you're hungry spiritually, or you wouldn't be here. And so if you are ready to exchange pressure for peace, you're ready to exchange all the striving for stewardship, and you want to reverse architect and live a life of genuine fulfillment, number one, I want to invite you to click on the link, book a discovery call, and see if the private advisory is the right next step for you. And if it's not, maybe the rapid implementation challenge is the right next step. It's a 4-month container. It's specifically curated to give you the training, the tools, the playbooks, the workbooks, the questions, the journaling, the reflection stuff to build your playbook for the second half of life. And so if you know that what got you here won't get you there, take a minute, take a beat, really take some time to ask yourself better questions, because the questions in the second half are different than the ones in the first half. All right, guys, here's to experiencing a deeper, richer life. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you guys next week. I'm going to be talking about a high margin life versus a low margin existence. You don't want to miss it. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.